welcome back to FrameCAD Structure. This is 3.0, importing the architectural floor plans. I'm going to show you how to import a DWG file that's got our floor plans on it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Open, I'm going to find my file. Let's go back to Studio One. Let's go to Prep Lectures. I'm going to go back to FCAD Residential Project. We're going to be using this project for the rest of the semester or the next few weeks. One thing I want to point out is if we type in BSET and check it, you want to make sure you have similar values, at least down here in sheet options. You should be using 17 by 11 sheet size, BR FrameCAD for your border name. Border scale should say 3/16 inch to a foot. Okay, 3/16 inches in quotation marks, colon 1 apostrophe 0 quotation marks, 1 foot 0 inches. If you don't see that, and instead all this text is black, that means you've chosen some sort of metric unit when you did your border setup, and this is a good time to start all over because there's only one time when you can initiate the units, and it's the first time that you do your border setup. So make sure you see 3/16 of an inch to a foot. Okay, and detail sheet ratio doesn't really dictate that. It has to do with something else, but 3/16 to a foot. If I go back and start a brand new file, type in BSET, okay, units type, see how that appears. If I change it to metric, this all turns black. If I go back to units, imperial units, it's all blue. Let's say I have it at metric. I say insert, it's going to give me 8 borders organized into 2 rows. If I type in BSET one more time, that option is no longer there. There's no unit type. So there's only one time you can affect that. So I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to close this, hit no. And here I am back here in this file. The DWG file is going to be located on Canvas. I'm going to go ahead and find mine. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to File, Open. I'm going to find my file. Here it is, Two-Story House CAD. Okay, so once you get to Canvas, download that file, save this file, save it somewhere important where you can find it again later. Then come to FrameCAD Structure, File, Open, and open that file. Never double-click a file to open it up in whatever software. Okay, this is a CAD formatted file, so it might appear and open in FrameCAD Structure, it might open in AutoCAD, it might open up in Rhino depending on your computer. So it's safest to just go to FrameCAD Structure, File, Open, and find that file. So the first thing that we want to do is I'm just going to show you around. This first floor plan is on the far left. This is your first floor. Okay, we got our entrance doors, the double doors here, a bunch of windows down here at the bottom. This is a concrete pad that would be sitting outside of the house. A couple of columns. Got a big grand living room here in the front. Dining space above, kitchen. Got a bedroom, walk-in closet, and bathroom. Bedroom, bathroom, and then another bathroom with a linen closet with a door that can lead you to the exterior. These pink or magenta lines represent the roof that is above. The line is dashed, so that represents things that are above and can't be seen in this floor plan view. And then these cyan blue lines represent the ridges of the hipped roof. So this is one portion of this is one roof, that's the left wing. And then it's got the ridges right there, and then same thing on the other side. The reason why there's no roof right here is because there's a second story. So if I go to this plan over here, you can now see those roofs again on the left and on the right. This little white dash line here, that represents the line of the wall of the first floor down below, which is right over here. Okay, so that's what those lines represent. Then of course you have the floor plan of the second floor. Okay, so come up the stairs. You got a little bathroom right here, bedroom, and just some common space. A little porch that goes to the outside. The second floor also has its own roof, another hipped roof that also has a gable that joins into it from the porch side. And then this is the elevation. This is looking at the front elevation. So this gives us information like how tall this building is. All right, that's what these lines represent. We could use the dim command, and we can do some aligned dims. I can snap to these various endpoints from here to here. Okay. As you can see here, it says 96. I'm in imperial units, so that's 96 inches. So this is an 8-foot tall wall. Okay. Let's also measure aligned from here to here. Bring it out to here. I'm going to press enter. Okay. This is 14 inches. That represents our floor plate, the height of our floor plate. Let's continue this dimension all the way up to here. And then we have another 96. So the first floor walls are 8 feet tall. We have 14-inch floor joists, and then 8-foot tall walls again. And then we have our other elevation looking at it from the side. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is I'm going to select, making a big selection window, clicking from this top left all the way to this bottom right. Okay, I'm going to type in Control C on my keyboard, just keyboard shortcut Control C. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my FCAD Res project. Then I'm going to do Control V, and that's going to paste this in. As I move my cursor around, it's following my cursor, so I'm going to just click way out here and just drop it in place right there. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is go back to the two-story house CAD. I'm going to select this floor plan now. Control C for copy. I'm going to go back. Control V to paste. I'll paste it down here. So now that we've got our floor plans in, if I were to select any of these lines, these are all individual lines. And one thing I want to do is, in some sort of way, I want to group them, so that way I can't accidentally delete any one particular line. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to turn this whole thing into what's called a block. So you're going to type in block. Okay. Let's give this block a name, like first floor. Okay, you can give it a description. Check specify on screen for entities. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to select this whole entire floor plan. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so now if I go to click it, everything gets clicked. Everything that's part of this floor plan gets clicked. Okay, it has now been turned into a block. So we're going to do the same thing for this one. Instead of individual lines, I'm going to turn it into one block. So I'm going to type in block and type in second floor. Click OK. Specify on screen, click OK. Select this whole entire thing and press enter. Now as you can see, it's one giant block. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to review quick navigation. Quick navigation is going to be super important in FrameCAD structure. The way it works is you type in V as in Victor, press enter, and then you type any number between 1 through 8 depending on how many borders you have. So if I type in 1 and hit enter, I am now at border number 1. If I type in V and hit enter and I go to 2 and hit enter, now I'm in border number 2. So this is an easy way for me to navigate between all of my borders. And this is really important, not only because it saves you a little bit of time and ensures that you go to the right border, but also because if you don't tell FrameCAD Structure that you are in this specific border, looking at this very specific one. Once you start to add geometry, it'll think that geometry is in another border. So we want to make sure we're in a specific border, doing things for that border while we're in that border. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my first floor plan. Type in move, enter, select this first floor plan, enter. I'm going to move it from this relative point to this general area over here. Now if your cursor moves in a straight line and the whole floor plan moves in a straight line like this, you have ortho on. If you turn ortho off, you'll be able to float around and not have to travel in straight lines. I'm going to drop this way over here in the corner. I'm going to quick navigate to border number 1, V enter, 1 enter. And now I'm going to type in CTR, enter. I'm going to select my block, enter, and voila, it has now shifted to the very center of this border. Okay. And then the next thing that we want to do is I want to add this first floor plan block into a temporary layer. So that way I can turn that temporary layer on and off as needed very quickly. To do that, we can go to the structure menu, layer controls, let's see, menu, layer controls, LX1 will allow me to add a temporary layer. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I could also type in LX1. I'm going to select my first floor block. I'm going to hit enter. Alright. Without any notification or confirmation, this thing is now in temporary layer number 1. I can test this theory out by using a command that turns temporary layer 1 on and off. Located in the structure drop-down menu, layer controls, LT1, okay, and that turns it off. Alternatively, I can type in LT1 and hit enter, and it turns it on. If I hit enter to repeat that last command, it turns it off. If I hit enter again, I can turn this block on and off very quickly using the LT1 command. So that's going to be very handy. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to move the second floor plan from this relative base point to border number 4. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to hit V, enter, 4, enter, CTR, enter, select my block, enter, and now I'm going to type in LX2, and I'm going to select this block and hit enter. I've just added this second floor block into a new temporary layer number 2, and now if I use LT2, which will turn the temporary layer 2 off and on, that will now shift on and off. So if I look at all of my borders, LT1 turns that one off, LT2 turns that one on, LT1 turns that one on, and off, on, LT2, off, on. So we now have our floor plans in FrameCAD Structure. First floor and second floor each are their own blocks. They're each on their own temporary layers, and they can each be manipulated and turned on and off as needed. Now that we have our blocks strategically placed in our borders, we need to assign reference points to each border so that vertical loads transfer down our structure properly. We do this using reference points, which allow our 2D views to interact with one another. For the reference point system to work properly, there's 4 rules that must apply. Only one reference point within a border, minimum of 2 reference points for each reference number used, only one reference point number for each structure. Each reference point must be placed in a corresponding point within a border to a primary reference point. Let's get into it. So to add a single reference point, we could select a common point of the building. This will add a primary reference point. as the first reference point. To insert a reference point on our lower wall, we can use the ref command. Let's go to border number 1, V, enter, 1, enter. We're going to go to the structure drop-down menu. Let's go to miscellaneous, and then let's go to REF reference point. Okay, the trick to doing this properly is you should have a point that can be found in multiple views, in multiple floor plans. So we have 2 floor plans. We need a common point for them both. And the one that I'm going to choose is this top right corner of the first floor. And the key is going to be holding down the Alt button on the keyboard and then left clicking right in this area. Oh, sorry, I'm using the wrong command. I'm going to hit escape, 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 structure, miscellaneous, REF reference point. Okay, I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to click this point here. Make sure that you have your entity snaps on. Make sure you can snap to endpoints, and once you snap to that intersection or endpoint, go and click it once. I'm going to zoom out, and whoa, we've got some big giant reference numbers. What happened there? I'm going to hit escape 2 times to end the command and deselect anything. I'm going to type in bset. The reason why this is so gigantic is the text height is super big. So I'm going to type in 4 feet. All right, let's undo, undo, undo. I'm pressing Control Z slowly and watching it undo each thing. All right, so now that I've undone all the way past doing the reference point, let's do that reference point again. But before we do, type in bset, and let's change our text height. 15 feet is a lot. So if our text height is 15 feet, so the text height is the height of the nominal text to be used on the layout for labels and dimensions, etc. The height is proportional to the scale being used, therefore the height is set assuming a scale of 1 to 100. Okay, so 15 feet, I know it's way too much. I'm going to try, let's try 2 feet. Okay, I'm going to hit update. Now I'm going to go back to my reference point, so structure, structure, miscellaneous, REF reference point. Zoom into this top left corner, hold down Alt, find this intersection and click once, zoom out. Okay, that's still too big. It's smaller, so I'm going in the right direction, but it's too big. So I'm going to hit escape 2 times, Control Z to undo. I can still see the reference point there, so I'm going to do Control Z 1 more time to undo. And let's try that again. Bset. Instead of 2 feet, let's try 8 inches. Hit tab to enter that, hit update. Let's try the ref command, REF, enter. Hold down Alt, find that intersection, click once, zoom out. Okay, that's much better. So if you run into that same issue where your reference point is like gigantic, go ahead and escape a couple times, undo before you do the reference point, bset, change the text height to something along the lines of 8 inches seems to be nice. Maybe 6 inches would have been okay as well, but I think 8 is nice. So I'm going to leave it like that. I've got all my reference points here. So what are my reference points? This thing here is my primary reference point. When I type in bset, go to options, reference options, primary color 130. That should be the primary color of the reference point, and the secondary is 75. So the visibility level, so this is my secondary reference point. All of these other ones are secondary. So you can have multiple reference points, each with their own numbers. This is P1. primary reference point number 1, and that's this very corner. So if I go to any other page and the same exact spot relative to the border is a secondary one. Okay, so this is the primary one, the rest are all secondary. So if I go to the second floor plan, I can see that this should be pointing at that same top left corner that is existing right here. Okay, but if I go back and look at it, I can see it's a little bit off, and that's because this second floor plan is centered in this border, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's in the same exact spot relative to this corner here. Okay, so all I have to do, now that I'm aware of that, is I'm going to quick navigate to border number 4. I'm going to type and move, hit enter, select this floor plan, hit enter. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to snap to this endpoint or intersection right here, click once, and then snap to the endpoint of the reference point itself, click once, and now everything is in place exactly where it needs to be. Basically what happens now that I have all these reference points all over the place is as I start to build my structure here on border number 1 for all my first floor walls, I'm gonna have to go to border number 2 next, and let's say we do the roof, right? These two roof sections, this left wing and this right wing. This is all going to be done relative to this reference point. So when I come up over here and start to draw the structure of the left roof and then the right roof, their position here in this Cartesian plane relative to the secondary reference point is going to have the same relationship as here in border number 1 with this primary reference point and this floor plan. Okay, it'll make much more sense as we continue forward. The next thing that we want to do is we want to start drawing up some polylines to create some framing layouts. So it's important for us to draw a polyline around the outer edge of the wall layout. So let's quick navigate to border number 1, V enter, 1 enter. I'm going to initiate the polyline command. Make sure you spell it correctly, polyline, enter. And the first place I'm going to put my polyline is around the exterior corners of the walls. So I'm going to snap to the endpoints of the exterior walls of the first floor block to create a closed polyline around the outer edge of the wall layout. And start right here. Make sure you're clicking on an endpoint. Click once, come all the way over here, find another endpoint or intersection, click once, come to this one, click once, and go to the next one, click once. Okay, and from here, to close this polyline, I can just type in C for close, or I can go back to that very first point that I started at. So let's type in C, hit enter. Okay, now I have a polyline there. And I'm going to now go over and snap to endpoints of the exterior walls of the second floor block to create another closed polyline around the outer edge of the wall layout. So while I'm here in structure, if I double click on my middle wheel button, it'll zoom out and to my full extent to see all 8 borders. I'm going to go ahead and go to border number 4. V enter, 4 enter. Polyline, enter. I'm going to find this corner of the wall, find that intersection, go to the next one, and the next one, the next one, and I'm going to close this, C for close. Alright, now I've got a polyline around the second floor walls. Now I'm going to initiate the copy view command and select the polyline that I just created here in border number 4. And we're going to copy it over to border number 3 and to number 6. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to type in the command copy view, all one word, hit enter. And what this does is it allows me to select anything I want within this border. So I'm going to find my polyline. As I hover over it, you see it'll start to change into this white dashed line. So I'm going to click it. Once I see it, I'm going to hit enter. This is going to zoom out to show me all my borders. And now it's asking me, where do you want to move it to? Where do you want to copy it to? And I want to copy it to number 3 and number 6. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, click inside of 3, 4, 5, 6, copy inside of 6. And now that I'm done with that, hit enter, hit escape 2 times, and we're all done with that. Okay, next thing we want to do is quick navigate to border number 4. We're going to draw the polylines around the second floor block for the lower truss layout. So B, enter, 4, enter. I'm going to type in polyline, hit enter. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw a polyline from this endpoint or intersection to this one, and then this one, and then come over here and do this one as well. I'm going to hit enter to end this command. I'm not going to close this shape. I'm going to type in polyline again, or I could hit enter, spacebar, or right click. I'm going to find this point here, this point here, this point here, and this point right here. Hit enter again. Not going to close that polyline. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move view. We did copy view earlier. Now I'm going to type in move view. Oops, let's type it incorrectly this time. And I'm going to select that bracket I made on the left and the bracket I made on the right, and I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to hit border number 2 to move it from border number 4 to border number 2. Okay, we're going to need these lines later on, so that way we can draw our trusses. Look at where the reference point is. The secondary reference point references this corner. This secondary reference point represents this corner, and the primary reference point represents the same exact corner as well. And the next thing I want to do is I want to mess with my truss settings. Okay, so we did border setup, that was B set. Now we're going to do truss settings, which is T set. Okay, the things I'm going to do here is choose the correct system, FrameCAD FTI, which is the one I have, not the metric one, not the M6 one. The model that I'm going to use, let's use 350LE system. Okay, sheet. The pitch, change the pitch to 25. Okay, that has to do with the angle or the slope of the pitch of the roof. Wind speed we've already dictated should be 110 when we did our border setup. My reduced level, okay, I want my reduced level to be 8 feet. The reduced level represents where our the trusses in this border, or rather it represents exactly where the trusses will be in the Z height for all trusses moving forward until I change this setting again. So reduced level means when I draw my trusses in the upcoming steps, they will all start at 8 feet up in the air. Half truss, overhang frames, extended eave, FrameCAD 32, all these look good. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Okay. Now I'm going to go to affect my panel settings, structure settings, P set for panel settings. Panels or walls basically are the same thing here in FrameCAD structure. FrameCAD FTI, M6350S, 43 mil, 50 KSI. Drafting width 3.5. Let's make our maximum length 23. The maximum length is a number that you can dictate, and when you give it a number, FrameCAD structure will tell you if you have a wall that's bigger than that number, right? Sometimes you might want to set something smaller because you have limited room on the mode of transportation that you're putting these walls on later to get it from your manufacturing to the job site. If you had a 10-foot deep bed, you would type in 10 feet, and anything you create here that's over 10 feet. you'd have to know to go back and change it. Truss location tolerance, 1 foot, true, double section on top of plate. We'll do false. All right, let's save these settings. And that's about it. We're all totally set up now to start creating our panel and truss setups and floor joists and everything else for the rest of the semester. All right, great. If you have any questions, please comment down below and I'll try to get to it. Thanks.